Hey YouTube, Brian LCS. Thanks for stopping by the channel and this video, Miles Morales Spider-Man number 6 review. So we're going to get into spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, you may want to tune away. So let's jump into this issue. And we start off where Miles is reflecting on past events, the recent battle with new villain Rabble. And we kind of see here he's writing in his journal and things are getting back to normal for him. He's happy that everybody was safe and that his friends are, okay. And the Rabble event made him really consider his place in school and in the world. He's really focusing now on school. Rabble pointed out that he had an opportunity to get into his school, and he won it over in a lottery and won it over other students. And so he's really kind of trying to take it seriously now. And we see him with his girlfriend, Tiana, and just really kind of reflecting on the recent events and focusing on things that are important in his life. But Miles doesn't get much of a break because he is thrown right back into the mix here with some things that are happening right in Brooklyn. And enter Carnage. And this is part of the Carnage Reign storyline. This is part 2. We're going to get into it, but let's take a look at the creative team. We have Cody Ziegler writing and Federico Ventini, artist. And let's look at the preview or the synopsis for this issue. CLETUS Kasady is a serial killer best known for bonding with the Carnage symbiote, but CLETUS has since rejected Carnage, and his soul now inhabits the Extrembiote, a monstrosity that is part Stark tech and part symbiote dragon. The union has made him more powerful and more dangerous than ever before. Setting his sights on New York, CLETUS has turned a Brooklyn diner into a slaughterhouse, attracting the attention of the police and Brooklyn's one and only Spider-Man. His initial tangle with CLETUS left Miles brutalized and nearly beaten. As he recuperated, Miles found a savior of the massacre and led him to safety. Once they reached the building roof, Miles' heroism turned out to be a mistake, as the survivor turned out to be CLETUS in disguise. Unable to stand up against the powered-up Extrembiote, Miles was saved by an unlikely ally, Scorpion. The duo still seemed no match for CLETUS until Miles' quick thinking allowed him to overload CLETUS' arc reactor, resulting in a massive explosion. And so this is where our story picks up. It is the aftermath of the battle with Carnage, CLETUS Kasady. The Brooklyn diner has collapsed, and Miles and Scorpion are underneath the rubble, underneath the city street here. And so they're trying to work together, but they're also kind of trading barbs at one another. Each of them not sure if they can trust one another. But they continue to kind of work together and argue a little bit. They need to figure out how to get out of this situation, being underneath, the city and underneath a diner, a big building. And so they're back and forth, kind of jabbing at one another and still trying to figure out how to get out of this building. And again, this just continues as back and forth, each one unsure of, whether they can, like I said, trust one another. But then they find that there's a survivor within the rubble with them. And Miles, springs into action and says, look, we need to help her. We need to save her. Scorpion's like, look, I need to just get myself out of here. Ultimately, Miles convinces him to give him some help. And then we cut to above ground and we have Agent Gao, who is actually a new character who was introduced in this series. So don't know much about her, but she seems to be working with NYPD and ties with the mayor. And she's been keeping close tabs on Miles Morales. So interesting to see how she'll develop. But she's going through and reviewing the footage from the battle that brought this diner down. She's actually working with Scorpion, and she's trying to figure out where he is, and they're unable to get in contact with him because he's underneath the street in a bunch of rubble, so they're unable to communicate with him. And so then we cut back to Miles and Scorpion and their bystander, and they're still trying to figure out how they're going to get out of, this situation. And they're moving through the rubble, and then they discover another survivor in this underground rubble here. And so again, Miles jumps in and says, "Look, we need to save him. He looks like he's pretty beat up. We need to get out of here." And it looks like things are beginning to shift, and there's some water leaking in, and so they need to make a decision and figure out how to get out of here very soon, before this all of this kind of collapses on them. Miles has an idea, and he says, use Scorpion. We need you to use your sting and blast through this wall. And Scorpion's like, I'm not going to do this. I'd rather take another way out. And Miles just says, look, a bad plan is better than no plan. And so he's basically telling everybody to hold on. And Scorpion does break down the wall, which brings in a rush of water and shoots them up above ground into the street. And then we see, the Scorpion, Miles, and the two people that they found with them in the rubble are, okay. And then we see Agent Gao, kind of confront Miles saying, hey, what's going on? They actually put him in handcuffs because, he was part of the reason why this building was destroyed. And, Scorpion's kind of, walking away. But then we have a little twist here. One of the bystanders now turns into symbiote. And so, Miles springs into action. Although he's still banged up, he needs to stop the symbiote here. But before he's able to get to the symbiote, we see the symbiote being, kicked around by a pair of legs here. We're not really sure who it is. And in walks Electro, Taskmaster, and Hightail. Taskmaster identifies them as the Cape Killers. And so they have taken care of, with a few more punches and some electroshocks, they have taken care of the symbiote. And that's kind of where we leave off. We see this splash page where the Carnage Range storyline continues. So we see, Carnage and another character, Neely, that he's been working with. So if you're familiar with the Carnage storyline, if you've been reading the Carnage storyline, this would all kind of make sense. So that is the issue of Miles Morales Spider-Man number 6. Although I didn't read Carnage Reign number 1, it does make sense. I am reading Carnage. I am reading Miles. So, this is a nice little tie-in. Overall, pretty good. Not a lot of action, right? This kind of unlikely team up of Miles and Scorpion, and then now the introduction of the Cape Killers. Now, one thing to point out: the Cape Killers, 2 of the 3 characters. So we have Electro and Taskmaster, who we are familiar with, but Hightail is a new character. So that is a new character, first appearance right here in this book. And he was a creation of Cody Ziegler and the artist Federico Ventini. So I'm not sure if that was on a lot of people's radars. I didn't hear much about it, but we do have a first appearance. And again, too, Agent Gao is a new character as well. And I don't know where her alliance is, who she's actually with. Is she, a secret agent? Is she S.H.I.E.L.D.? Or I don't know. And so kind of expect that we'll get that developed throughout the Miles series here. But she is keeping tabs on things that Miles is up to. So interesting to see where that goes. But overall, as a part 2 of the Carnage Reign storyline, I thought this was a pretty solid issue. Good artwork, decent writing. So I'll go, thinking about my 5 webhead review system, we'll go with 3 webheads for this issue. Again, the Miles story just seems to continue to be kind of classic Spider-Man, a young Spider-Man developing, still trying to figure things out in his life and with his superpowers. And obviously, having the ties with family and friends being important to him and trying to keep them safe. So I'll go with, like I said, a solid 3. I will not be picking up all of the tie-ins for the Carnage Reign, storyline, this event. I'm just sticking with the main, Miles storyline. So that's it. Let me know what you think. What did you think of this book? Are you reading it? Let me know. Let me know down in the comments, and we'll see you next issue.